So we are going to start today with a senior integrator from Quadrata, all the way from the warm and sunny Italy. They will be talking about low-level discovery, a feature that, like I said, if you're using Zabbix, you've probably encountered it to some extent. It's pretty much unavoidable, a great feature. And we will talk about how it can be enhanced by using dependent items and then implementing dependent item discovery. So let's welcome Dimitri Bellini. Welcome.
Thank you, Arthur, for your great introduction. I'm Dimitri Bellini, and I start to share my screen here. Okay.
Yes, we can see it. We can hear you. All good.
Perfect, perfect. So I'm Dimitri Bellini, CEO of Quadrata. We are premium partner for Italy from time, and also here in Middle East in Dubai since 2022. And we have a great experience with Zabbix. And today we want to explain some specific scenario of the views of the traditional discovery, or what we can say low-level discovery, depends on you prefer. So what is the low-level discovery? It's a way to automatically create items, triggers, graph, and maybe host. So in many templates, Zabbix have already introduced this feature, I think, since Zabbix 2.2. But slowly, in every new Zabbix release, they increase the number of out-of-the-box discovery for many, many devices, and also for application. This feature can be also highly customizable. And maybe you can see later some example. So you can use the standard, what comes from the template of Zabbix, but maybe you can create much big monster of discovery. So out of the box, as you can see here in the slide, we already use the discovery in many scenarios. On the mounted file system, in the network interface, CPUs and CPU cores, or maybe as, on SNMP devices. But it is not finished, because as you can see here, we have a lot of new discovery. Maybe one of the most known discovery is also the VMware ecosystem, because there are many different discovery inside the template of VMware. So you can use in many situations. And this is the out-of-the-box discovery. So nothing to create from scratch, is already inside Zabbix, and please check the official documentation, because you can receive much more details on every single kind of discovery. But what are the main components of the discovery? First of all is the discovery rule. So how we can collect the information that we want to discover. So this is the main component, okay? We need something, we need some information, and we need a way to collect it. After all, we need we can use preprocessing. So the classic preprocessing that are already used inside the items, and is a way to change your collected data. Also, inside the discovery, we have a tab called the LLD macros, and this is how Zabbix can understand what are the low-level discovery macro must be created based on the data collected using the discovery rule. Filters is simple. Filter the entities collected by the discovery rule. So it's easy to understand. Overrides, I think, is much more tricky for all the people that are not so familiar with the concept of the discovery, but is a huge improvement because is something that can help you when you have to create some complex discovery rules, because it's a way to change on the flies the behavior of items, triggers, graphs based on something, based on some condition. So it's a very good opportunity and is a very good feature coming inside Zabbix, I think, 5.0. So can be very useful. And I have some example later in the slides. But as I mentioned before, the discovery rules is the main component. So how we can collect the information. And as you can see in this slide, we have all the flavor that we usually see inside the items, the classic items. So we have types like agent, HTTP agent, IPMI, SSH agent, and so on and so forth. So we can use all the item type that we are already familiar inside the classic items. And here we have an example of the output coming from a discovery rule. Usually this kind of output is a JSON, is a JSON format. And this is an example of the traditional file system discovery. Okay, so as you can see here, we have a LLD macro called fs name, and fs type is another LLD macro. Okay, so it's a bunch of array of information. And we can use this information, mainly the low-level discovery macros, inside our item prototype. Most use item type, maybe. Most use for me. HTTP agent because HTTP is the new way to collect information where? In storage array, in application, in Kubernetes, and a lot of new fashioned appliances and something like that. So HTTP, I think, is the most common item type that you can use inside a discovery rule. But also the SNMP agent, because all the routers, all the SAN switches, and all devices that are using SNMP agents is a must-have, okay? And I think using the traditional discovery for SNMP is a good starting point, okay? Dependent item, master and dependent item, is another very important feature inside the discovery rules, and we will see later why. But it's very common to use dependent item. And scripts. And scripts, what is useful for? Is useful when you need to accomplish a very complex authentication or REST API query with multiple authentication token or something like that. So the script can be useful in some specific scenario, okay? When the classic HTTP agent is too simple, you can use script. And inside the script, you can create what you want because it's a JavaScript language, so as you prefer. And here, I call the slide where magic come true, because the preprocessing is a way to extend or clean the collected data. And as you remember, in item, we still have the preprocessing. And here also in the discovery, we can use some preprocessing step, and we have a lot of. For instance, you can use the classic regular expression, JSON path, and JavaScript. And I think that the most used step is the regular expression, JSON path, and JavaScript. Okay, you can use multiple in a single preprocessing, and I have some example, but usually the most used is what you can see here. So regular expression, JSON path, and JavaScript. And here, next-gen low-level discovery. Why? Is not real next-gen, but is an advanced low-level discovery. So usually in our daily work, the out-of-the-box discovery are not enough. So we need to create some more complex discovery rule, and there are some way to extend the classic discovery. So one of the most important is reduce the number of polling, because if you have a lot of information coming from a device, you cannot ask a lot of information for every check. So the best suggestion is to use the master and dependent item. So you have a master item, a traditional item that collect a bunch of data, and the discovery will be a dependent item of the master, the item, the simple item. And in this way, everything could be much more light for the poll-led device. Also, advanced automation with low-level discovery overrides. And I won't show you later, enrich your low-level data using JavaScript preprocessing step, and some other trick way to bring user macros everywhere. And some more trick situation that you can face sometimes, also easily, maybe not easily, but you can work around this kind of situation using the discovery rules. So an example of master dependent item, we have here the item, the classic item that collect a bunch of information. So a single collection will be made and all the chain will be updated. Okay, so the main component is the item, the master item. The discovery rule will be a dependent, and how we can collect what we want using the preprocessing. So inside the dependent, we have a preprocessing step that parse some specific part of the bunch of data collected by the master item, okay? And the discovery rule creates some items, and these items are also dependent of the master item. So also this dependent item maybe one or multiple preprocessing, because he need to parse the specific information that we want inside this item. Okay, so in this way, with a single collection, we can reach a lot of items. Okay, so it's a very good way to execute less polling to our devices. Here, the real life example, we collect using the HTTP agent some JSON file, maybe a single JSON file. So is the raw data. And inside the discovery, we parse this information, and we attribute some specific low-level discovery macro in this way. So here is the name of the macro, and here the JSON path to reach the information that we want to use. Okay, so in this case is the name of the VM. Okay, and also you can add much more macros as you want. Here we have extracted node status, but I have made a mistake in the slide because it's not token underscore ID, but is probably node status. But by the way, my fault. And inside the item prototype, as I mentioned before, the item prototype is also linked to the master item, the classic item. And using a preprocessing, we collect some specific information using JSON path, okay? As you can see here, is not so easy probably for all of you, but please look to the Zabbix documentation because there are many examples of JSON path. So here we are looking for something and we want to retrieve the CPU information, okay? So it's very, very useful. And in this slide, I want to show you how we can advance the automation coming from a low-level discovery. Usually, the low-level discovery create items and triggers and host prototype. And in this case, we want link some specific information to the host prototype, in this case, the template, the relative template based on some collected information, and how we can achieve this kind of behavior. Because maybe we have some machines that are Linux, some other Windows, and we cannot, if we use the standard low-level discovery, we cannot change the template because we have to assign a specific template to the host prototype. But using override, we can create some condition probably, if you want, based on VMware tags or VMware custom attribute, or based on some Zabbix low-level discovery macro that can provide additional information. In this case, we are using the Zabbix low-level macro called VM guest family, and this macro brings the information of what kind of operating system is running inside this machine, and we assign, as you can see here, during the host prototype, a specific template only for the machine that have a Windows operating system, okay? So in this way, we can have a discovery, an automation, because this discovery create host, but also is able to assign a specific template. Some other example to enrich your low-level discovery using JavaScript preprocessing step. Usually you are using preprocessing to filter, parse, and something like that, to clean the information coming from the data collection. But you can also enrich the information, because JavaScript is very powerful, and inside the preprocessing we can do what we want. And as you can see here, we called a specific endpoint to collect much more information based on the collected data coming from the discovery, and all the information will be the final low-level discovery rule. Okay, so in this case is a good way to enrich data. Okay, so I would strongly suggest in some specific situation to use this kind of approach. Another way to use the low-level discovery and the preprocessing step with JavaScript is my case, but as you know, you cannot use user macro during some specific host prototype situation. So how we can bring some user macro also in host prototype creation. The only way is to push this kind of information inside the low-level discovery the output. So as you can see here, we push the user macro, because this one is the user macro inside the output of our low-level discovery. So you can use this user macro as a traditional low-level discovery later inside the host prototype. A way to achieve some specific scenarios is to use the combination of the classic out-of-the-box macro, discovery, and in this case is SNMP discovery that collects some details of our devices, but using the JavaScript we can extend, or maybe in this case we can fix some OID. Because of this kind of a device, in this case is a Brocade device, need a specific OID, and Zabbix out of the box was not able to provide this kind of OID. So we collect this OID inside the discovery, but is not enough. And inside the JavaScript, we recreate the final low-level discovery fixed with this kind of information. So it's a tricky way, but can fix some specific scenarios. Another very tricky situation that I see this morning, and I spent 4 hours to solve this kind of situation, because as you can see here, we have a big XML file. This XML file describes a specific highway digital signage, and the information inside this specific panel. And inside the XML, we have 2 levels of information. So the first level is the panel, and we can have multiple panels. So we can use low-level discovery to discover the multiple panels and retrieve what we need. But inside the panel, we can have multiple displays. So usually you can't execute a traditional discovery, because we can go with the traditional discovery, we can go only inside the first level, but we cannot go to the second level of discovery. So we cannot have in a single discovery rule the information coming from the panel and from the display. So to fix this kind of situation, I have to create a JavaScript that based on the HTTP item collection of all the XML, we create a dependent discovery. The dependent discovery have a preprocessing step that parse all the XML using, and here we have some new feature, or some, maybe it's not new, but it's something new for me. The XML.query function inside the JavaScript preprocessing step. I never use until today. And using this function, I was able to retrieve the information that I need, and this information will be the final low-level discovery output. And here, as you can see, this is the classic XML query format. And you can put here some variables, because if you need, and here, this is how we can use the function XML query using the value. The value is the information coming from the HTTP item, so the XML, and query is this specific query. Okay. Another very important feature inside the preprocessing step, in many other places where you are using JavaScript, is this specific syntax, zabbix.log. It's very useful because when you test some JavaScript JavaScript script, you are not able to see what happened inside and from the Zabbix front end. Okay, and the only way to see what happened in every step is to create a log entry inside Zabbix server.log. Okay, and this is the way that you can debug your code. So Zabbix log and put what you want. This is the level of the debug log of Zabbix, and is very, very useful in this kind of situation, because it's not easy to write a JavaScript code without make some mistake. Okay, so we need a way to debug, and this is the only way I found until now. And another very important function here was how we can push the all the element inside the JavaScript. Nothing so special, but is the push method, and I think it was very useful for me. And the last but not least is still waiting interesting advancement inside Zabbix. I want to see a way to show the final output of a low-level discovery, because at the moment I can do it. Okay, I can see the output of an HTTP item. I can see the output of the preprocessing step. Okay, but I cannot see the final output. Okay, so please, Zabbix, all of you attendees, please vote this specific feature. And nothing. Thank you to listening for half an hour. And if you have some question, I'm here to answer.
Thank you, Dimitri. A great presentation. We do indeed have some questions. So let's cover them. One of the questions is, does the feature allow using user macros in prototype items? And I assume that the answer is no, because the user is asking, are there any plans for this feature to make a comeback? So yeah, I think you answered, you sort of did a workaround over here.
Exactly. This is a workaround.
So yeah, it's sort of a workaround. I do know that if you look, there is a ZBX Next or a ZBX, I'm not sure which one. I think ZBX Next requesting for this feature to come back. So once again, I think if you search for item prototype user macro, you can find the ZBX Next. And as Dimitri said, you should vote, you should comment. The more noise you make, the more visible the request is for us, and then we understand, okay, users need it. And Dimitri can also vote and comment on it if he wishes to do so. Okay, next up,
yes.
Will there be a recording? That's for me. Yes, recording and slides will be available very soon after this here meetup is over. It takes us a few days to edit and trim all of the things and post them online. We post about this in our social networks, so Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. Follow us and we'll let you know when the recording and these slides are available. Next up, ciao, Dimitri. Dimitri, can I do this with Zabbix Agent 2 also? I don't want to use SNMP for security reasons.
Why not?
Why not? You can do this with anything pretty much, right? No restrictions there.
Exactly, because we can use any kind of item type. So depends on your needs.
Next one, that's the last one. It's not related, but I'll answer it. I'm currently running Zabbix 6.3, probably 6.2, because 6.3 is the pre-release, right? Don't want to be running it in production. With MariaDB, what do I have to consider before upgrading to 6.4? Do I have to upgrade the database? For MariaDB, I checked the database requirements don't change between 6.2 and 6.4. The database tables will be upgraded automatically as soon as you install the packages. We are currently still sort of evaluating your feedback on the release candidate. And once the release is out, you will see in our release notes section, in our release notes page, a section called Breaking Changes, which will contain the considerations about what has changed, what needs to be maybe removed or manually upgraded, and so on. So read the release notes and you'll know when the version is out. Okay, that's it for the question. Let me know, there's one more. Let me check. Okay, this hello there. I use LLD every day to monitor APIs, dependent discovery from JSON output. So that's good, right? Most of prototype items are type text. There are very few options for the dashboard widgets for this kind of items. I think we can agree here, Dimitri, right? Not many ways how to display text data on your widgets. I have not found a way to configure...
Maybe in 6.4.
Yes. I have not found a way to configure dynamic dashboards for the discovered item values with the widgets out of the box. Am I missing something? Will there be improvements for this in future versions? So I'm not sure if, Dimitri, you have dabbled with the latest beta and release candidate, but we do have a new framework for creating custom dashboard widgets, which should simplify creation of custom widgets by our community by quite a lot. It's a lot more simple now.
Exactly. We try as soon as possible to start some implementation to test how we can extend the standard widget.
So yeah, once the version 6.4 is out, the Zabbix team will start developing new official widgets based on this framework, and we expect also for our community and our partners like Dimitri here to also contribute, develop some widgets that fit their requirements, and maybe share some of them with our community so you can use them. And this could cover what you're asking for to some extent, or you can always also try and develop something on your own also. That's of course always an option. What about using Python scripts for discovery rules?
No.
Why not, Dimitri?
Because the real problem is that JavaScript is the only, I think at the moment, is the only way it's the only language that you can use inside a C script or C language. I think, because you're using Duke and Python. I don't think you can have an embedded Python inside C. So
not inside, but you could use, for example, Zabbix Sender to send the output of it at that script, which generates LLD data to a Trapper.
Oh yes, item type Zabbix Sender.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Okay, that's all. Thank you a lot, Dimitri. This was very useful.
Thank you from
Dubai.
Dubai.
You can see, we had a lot of questions. Oh, you're in Dubai, so. Yeah, thank you all the way from Dubai. Italy, Dubai. Dimitri is a traveler. He moves all over the place.
Exactly. See you soon, Arthur, and all the people. Bye.